I'm going to add one more thing to this, guys. So when we start talking about all the products and services DCI has, we have a whole stable, okay? We have a whole stable of products and services. We can handle everything. But in this bank that I'm talking about, they'll be using some of our products and services, and they'll be using our API in some areas. So they don't have to use all of our products and services. We can allow an API to go out and interface into, as I call it, the pink bubble world, the world where all the people want pink bubbles and cool things. Then we'll let them use our API. But one bank is going to have access to all that information to be able to use whatever they need to service whoever's coming on board for them. I think that's important.
This is great. Let me kind of translate that for a little bit for some of the guys out here that are watching going, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Sure. So you have a core on your bank, and then there's this modern core, sidecar core, whatever you want to call this other core thing that a lot of people are kind of tuning into, that's a hell of a lot better than trying to get my core to do all this other stuff that it's not really built to do. All right, well, now you've got a core that runs you've got a bunch of institutions, and then you've set this core up to where it can also run independent. So you can set it up next to a Jack or a Fiserv or whatever. You don't have to change your core to work with them. They can build direct banks, turn you into a sponsor bank, all those things. Now they can also run your core and set up this other sidecar for all these other function ancillaries.
And run
as
the
well
fintechs.
as it's a one-stop shop.
And run the fintechs, which has been a big problem, guys. Where look, there's a lot of what people today are calling the modern cores, this big ruse story.
The fintech core.
It's a freaking fintech core, which is not much different than a card core, right? It's a payments core.
Right here.
It's the most basic.
Why would you not want to do that? Because they don't have hundreds of banks running on those cores. These are untested, unproven guinea pig products.
The difference between a fintech core or a light core and a true, you want to put a real bank, a full bank on that core, that is like 90% different. I mean, is that fair, you guys think? It is a huge lift.
Completely fair. It's not only a huge lift, but you have to go out and you have to find all of those companies that need to be attached to that light core. Okay. So you got to go out and you got to find, and we've talked to so many program managers that have said, they get this fintech coming in and they're looking for a sponsor bank, but they've already contracted with a KYC company, and they've already contracted with an OFAC company, and they've already contracted with a card processing company, and they've already contracted with a plastic company. And then they come to find the sponsor bank, and the sponsor bank goes, well, I only work with 2 of the 14 people you've already contracted with. So now somebody's paying a boatload of money to make all this happen, or maybe not even make it happen, and they have to go to a different bank.
Do you feel like this world is backwards? Because it's something we discuss a lot. Look, I'll tell you all this, and I will admit it finally, I'll admit it publicly. I did a ton of consulting gigs with the fintechs 4 or 5 years ago, right? For about 18 months, 24 months there. I did a bunch of it. One was they're willing to pay a fortune, which, okay, cool, we'll do some of those things. The bigger, though, is get in there and learn. When this was really a scary threat for community banks, I'm like, let's get in there and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
They think that bankers are stupid. They think that all of us, the old vendor community, is stupid. And this is a group that is, granted, guys, they've learned a lot in the last 5 or 10 years, but they're 1,000 miles behind. They do everything the wrong way because they are so anti-banking. And we've built a lot here in the last 40 years, if everybody hasn't noticed, and we've gotten a lot better. There's a lot of good stuff here. But I think that the fintechs are building everything actually backwards. When they found the company, they need to find a sponsor bank, right? And they have to build some software and put some pieces and partners together in order to get there.
Need an account opening.
So you kind of have to build a fake straw man beta company and then rip it down and rebuild it the right way. And to your point, they're still not interfacing properly for reconciliation, BSA, AML, all those pieces with the ultimate sponsor bank.
Or they've conquered AML and BSA. There's a billion more things out there, guys.
That's it.
I like the fact that you had OFAC, you had a bunch of different things there, and we're talking about making this more efficient And actually, to your point of being backwards, this is how you make it more efficient, go further towards the core, not away from it.
Do you think it's fair to say that there are some that have done a really good job in sponsor banking? I think Cross River is a great example. They've done an awesome job. But the 3 or 5 that are just head and shoulders, they have a ton of their own technology. Right. This world hasn't really been SaaSed yet for the average community bank to get in. I think that's what you guys are delivering.
You're nailing
Is that fair?
This is my big thing with bankers. Okay. You can do it that way and put $100 zillion into this and figure it out on your own
painfully,
or you can pick up the phone and call DCI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the biggest things that we've found is, first of all, Tanna and I were going through this, we're doing all this research and we're like, wait, I think we have everything, And so, so one of the first things we did is we hired a consultant to come in and just evaluate everything we had. It was a consultant that's a program manager, just like, okay, are we thinking right? Are we on the right page? Because we feel like we're going down this path. And so in order to do that, we had to introduce him to all of our products so he could understand it and evaluate it. And he's like, oh my God, you have everything you need. He goes, I have banks and fintechs that are signing 14 contracts that need one with you, one. And so, that's just huge right there. The other thing is just like we're delivering the products and services that we deliver every single day, that's what some of these banks are doing too for sponsor bank processing, BSA, AML, keeping them whole, compliance, and so there's such an opportunity out there for community banks. There are so many community banks that are scared to death of fintech. And one of my favorite things, one of my customers that's kind of in on it in the very beginning as a sponsor bank, one of the things he said is, I want to get involved in this now so I'm not chasing it later. And I'm sad that I didn't get started when I should have.
We've seen close to 100% growth. I think you'll know this from us. Last year was close to 100% growth in the sponsor space. And similarly this year, we've roughly doubled the numbers of sponsors in the last 18 months or so. It should be north of there, but a bunch of those sponsors are getting acquired. FinTech vendors are buying them, right? I mean, you talk about if you wanted to build a bank that's worth a fortune, just put like FinTech in your logo,
Exactly.
FinTech-y stuff. Yeah. It's incredible.
Well, and the dumbest thing to do is sell your bank. You're sitting on the charter is so hard to get.
Absolutely.
This is worth a lot. And don't call your local investment banker and ask. It's like asking a real estate agent what my acre of land is. I forgot to mention it's right next to the Empire State Building.
Yeah. The other thing that he mentioned to us is all of these organizations that have 14 contracts, they also, most of them are tying everything together manually. Even though they're still using development and trying to tie it together, there's still so many manual processes because they're trying to kludge all of this together. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the beauties of all of the products we have. They're already tied together.
I would say one other thing on whether it's the fintech side or the banking side, what do bankers and processors do best? We move money. What do the fintechs need? They need somebody to move money. We have had 2 conversations with 2 of the largest fintechs in the United States that are not looking at doing business with us, but may have bought some of our financial institutions, things like that. And when they walk in the door, they know nothing about banking, but their first questions are about how do I get to Fed and how do I move money and how do I get a debit card? And, oh, you guys can do debit cards. Oh, you have a direct pipe to Fed. I mean, when I boiled down the fintech business is this marketing arm that moves money. Well, we've been moving money in the banking industry for hundreds of years, even if it was on at the back of a stagecoach. That's what the business that we've been in is, moving money. We know how to do that. So come talk to us. Let us help you move money easily, efficiently, to be able to track it. I'm not even going to go down that road, but we actually got into a situation where we had a hard time tracking ACHs with the fintech because they weren't tagging them. You couldn't track where it'd been all over the country. It wasn't tagged. We do this, not just us, but the banks that we process do this every single day. It's moving money, guys. That's what they need. They need somebody that can do it quick, efficiently, has access to all the channels. That's all. That's what a fintech needs. But that's what a good bank needs, and a good bank needs the same thing.
We've run into situations where there's duplicated ACH files. People are trying to back things out of the core.
Or worse, they're all in one bucket.
And you finally get to the right person at the FinTech, and it's like, what's an ACH file format? There's more than like 80 of them. It's just a bottomless pit that I think when you get in with a banker and you get to the back office, right? It's always Betty, right, in the back office, and she's a badass. You know what I mean? And it's like, in 100 years, I could never be as good as Betty. She's just
you learn every time you
There's so much depth, and in that depth, I think, is a lot of these nuances that, from your perspective, when you guys put those things together, that tribal knowledge, you can bake it into a program.
Yeah,
that's different.
I've run into so many issues working with bankers and connecting them with you guys that are just oddball things that come up that are in the weeds type of things you wouldn't think of. And I have yet to see anything where Tanna and Sarah can like sharpen their pencil, figure, okay, got it. Here we go. There's the way we're going to path this way, that way. You figure things out, you work the problem. And it's one of the things that I really like best about working with you guys is that we can actually bring you a problem. And you're like, hey, we'll work the problem and we'll figure it out. We'll figure this thing out.
How many logos are you guys at? Can I ask and say that? Because we started the conversation with, we're a little bitty bank on corn. You're like fifth-ish, maybe fifth largest.
They're fifth.
Oh.
So we have both core processing banks, and then we have a set of banks that we do just digital processing for. So they're on a different core, and we do digital processing for them, internet banking, mobile, things like that. So in total, it's about 300 different logos and different banks that we work with across the nation. We are 100% across the nation, and we work just with community banks, even on our internet banking side. So we have a.
I'm sorry. In the old days, they would say, "Well, gosh, they just deal with the little banks." That's not true anymore, is it?
No, we did start as a co-op a lot of years ago. So next year will be our 60-year anniversary. So we started as a co-op. So, we have some banks in small territories that are $30 million banks that are going to be $30 million banks in 20 years, unless they get acquired. But the size of our banks just continue to grow and grow. Our largest bank is right at about 3.5 billion, but we've processed for banks larger than that. And so we just have banks across all of that, all of those size ranges.
We've grown up.
That's great.
Yep.
I would also say on the digital branch side, where we have larger banks that are looking to do a digital branch to a specific market they have, or a specific thing that's happening inside their financial institution. And we're talking to much larger banks to be able to provide services on the digital branch side, direct bank side.
Yep. It's a hot market right now, guys. I mean, just all over the place. And the thing I hope everybody can take away from this call, we've been there, done that. You guys have been there, done that. Your team has as well. I mean, from the roundup to all sorts of other interactions with your folks, there's a lot of old banking tribal knowledge that you guys have, along with the people that have been there, done that, but see the new world coming, right? And want to attack and head that direction. I don't know who else is going to do it, right? Everything that I continue to watch out there, it's newcomers from the FinTech, the Bay Area kids, right? That are, fresh out of school, and they're trying to figure it out with bunches of money and quick mistakes. I just don't think this is too complicated of a business to get there that way.
Almost every one of these FinTech Cowboy interviews or goof offs or whatever you want to call them that we do with everybody, this comes up about a crash dummy or a guinea pig, and who wants to be that bank, right? Let's just try something completely bizarre and see if it works. And what we're trying to tell everybody is, unlike the people that are screaming at you, telling you, you got to do something, you're going to die. We're over here telling you specifically what to do and who to call and how to get it done. And we're never gonna, what's that commercial? If I thought this hurt anybody, it ain't my first rodeo. Okay, we're gonna put a banker in a bad spot. That's just done.
No, what are the
hesitate putting people over to you guys because you take care of folks.
Do a great job.
I appreciate that. One of the things that Tanna and I were talking about just this week, we were kind of brainstorming because you heard me say next year's our 60-year anniversary, and sometimes people use that against us. But at the other side of that is I'm so proud of the progression we've made over those 60 years. We have never stood still, never. And we have always moved forward. And so, we just continually to reinvent ourselves and to do whatever it takes to help our customers out. One of the things I tell prospects all the time, and Tanna says this all the time too, is I'm never going to tell you that we're perfect, because we aren't. I'm never going to tell you that everything's going to go great. But what I will tell you is I'll tell you the truth if there's a problem. I'll tell you what I'm going to do to fix it, and I'm going to do what I tell you I'm going to do. And that's the only thing we can do. And it just works so well for us. Our customer satisfaction rating is through the roof.
That's great. Hey, final thoughts here. If you guys could kind of tip again, I want you to just one more time hit some of those numbers for me on how many people get solved on the first call, how in your bank owned, and kind of give me that one more time.
Okay, so the SLA in our contract says that the call will get responded to in an hour. We have an internal goal that a call never sits longer than 30 minutes. The average response time is right at 8 minutes, because about 75% of the time you go straight to a support individual to resolve the situation, or at least talk to the customer and get the information. We're owned by about 30 banks. Only banks can hold stock. I should have mentioned that. No individuals, no venture capital, only banks. And then our board of directors is made up of all customers, most bank CEOs, except for one individual who's a technologist. He's a CEO of a technology firm.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just guess, but if not double-digit growth last year, like right at it. Right. And that is, the core market churns what, 2% a year? Mm-hmm. Wow. So you're 5Xing, right? And look, we can all say pound for pound and for your size, but you're 5Xing an equal opponent. That's just unreal. So hats off to you.
It's not like they're going up the lightweights either.
Yeah.
They're in the heavyweight class.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things we've worked on, I think, Dave, you made this comment at the beginning that it's not that we've reinvented ourselves. We've always been this. I think we've worked really, really hard on getting our name out there, and more and more recognition of who we are. And then the other thing is just word of mouth. We've opened up several new states in the last couple of years. Well, what happens is we open a state with one customer, and then word of mouth, and we've got a pocket there all of a sudden.
Well, you mean because you're not publicly traded and your investors making bajillions of dollars, right? I mean, who should be well known, right? I've always thought it's hilarious that of all the names to be out there, you guys are bank owned, sell so well, customers love you. I mean, this from a core. Goodness gracious.
And so absolutely forward thinking, and never put their bankers at risk.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing to sit here and think about that. I get to work for a company that is not sitting on its laurels and trying to figure out how to make an old system look cool again. I remember when we first had our database that was written in an Oracle database and in completely open architecture. And that was 20 years ago, guys. And I kept thinking, I came out of the business industry, and I kept thinking, why aren't the bankers excited about that? Well, 20 years later, everybody's like, I need access to my information. Everybody's holding me hostage. I can't get to it. I don't have this. I don't have that. We've been doing that for 20 years. If you would ever deconvert from DCI, all of your information goes with you. You don't ever pay us to take it because you have access to it from day one. All of your reports, all of your images, all of your statements, every bit of that. I mean, we have truly, because we're owned by bankers, have truly built a business that benefits bankers. And now we're just looking at taking it.
Somebody should pick that one up.
I love it.
And then now we're just taking it to another market, and we're saying, hey, we did this over here for bankers. Now bankers, we're going to help you to the next level and the next thing. And we're not going to sit here and watch the world pass us by.
And that's what we need right now. We need help there, not core providers and everybody else trying to solve yesterday's problems. Yeah. Bankers, I mean, this is the calls and conversations that we're getting. It's a lot of DreamWorks. Where's the market going? Where should we be heading? And I know you guys are getting the same thing, but you're actually putting your roadmap there. Yeah. I think it's awesome for community banking.
I tell you what, I sincerely mean this from the bottom of my heart. We have a hardcore passion about not just when people talk about, oh, you're trying to save community banks, good luck. I'm like,
He's serious.
you damn right.
Really,
I'm
really
serious. I'm
serious.
definitely serious. And
Absolutely.
we're not only going to do it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you guys are
Amen.
to the spear. And I thank you.
Thank you. Tanna and I
Thank
have
you.
spent a lot of time on the road, just trying to educate both existing customers and prospective customers. And one of the biggest things I've talked to these customers about is this is an opportunity for you that where you can actually jump ahead of the big banks because they can't react the way you can react right now.
This is our moment.
It is.
It's a message of hope. And I keep trying to tell everybody, we have a message of hope and it's not artificial. We're winning.
And the numbers bear it out.
Hey,
Absolutely.
thank you guys so much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having
guys so
me.
much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
We'll see you guys.